Hello everyone, this is Allegedly Caleb, and I am excited to show everyone the new Panzer Campaigns Poland 39 game that literally released probably like 30 minutes ago. We've been waiting for this for a little while now. They've been working on it for maybe 5 years. It is by this guy right here, Mike Prucha, and he has done some of my favorite Panzer Campaign games. More specifically, he did the France 40 Panzer Campaigns game, which is probably my favorite. So I am so excited to look into this game. There's a lot of new ideas that were implemented in this game that I'm excited to show you guys. And the biggest campaign map in the entire Panzer Campaign series is now here in the Poland map. So let's go ahead and take a look at the scenarios first. We'll take a quick little overview. I'm going to show you the main campaign map first, and you can see all of these other scenarios. There's a lot to play in this game. So for the main campaign, which I know if you're a grognard, you're a big grognard and you want to play the big campaign games in this game, you've got a lot of options to choose from. You have the historical scenario setups, which is where everyone was deployed historically. So you have the campaign game that's 158 turns by Mike Prucha. And in this one, this ends right before the Soviet invasion from the east. So you have that game, and that's all of these. And as you note right here, you can play all of these against the AI or against a human. So not all of the big campaign games are great against AI, but some of these are. So you can play as the Allied versus Axis AI. You can play as Axis versus Allied AI, and so on. Then you go down to the next campaign game, and you can see this one is almost doubled in the turn amount. It's 348 turns. So this game goes all the way through the Soviet invasion, and I think ends at the historical time that the Poles surrendered. So you're going to be able to use the Russians in this scenario, the Soviets, I should say, not Russians. Then you've got some alternate scenarios. So if we scroll down, here it is. Hypothetical. So in this one, there's no Soviet invasion. And then you've got a version of that to play against the other AI. Then we have our next type of campaign. So in this one, the main difference is the Polish army starts fully mobilized. So what that means is in this game, unlike a lot of other Panzer Campaign games, I think any other Panzer Campaign game, in most of the other games, both sides' armies start mobilized. They're either on the map already or they show up as reinforcements. In this game, the Polish army in the traditional scenario was caught unaware by the German invasion, and they have to mobilize their units, which means that they have to hold on to certain hexes that are labeled as victory point hexes, but they have 0 victory points. But they're just as, or if not even more important than a normal victory point hex, because if you don't hold it, then you don't get the units that would have been mobilized there. So you can miss out on that crucial strength for really delaying the German assault if you do not focus on holding those points where units are tied to. So in this specific scenario, the Poles already start fully mobilized, and you don't actually have to worry about that. So you can see here, the arrival of most Polish and some German reinforcements are tied to control of certain objective hexes. So yeah, and there are several 0-point objective hexes. They're tied to conditional reinforcements. So now let's go to our next in this one, in this scenario, it's what if the Western Allies had done more to aid Poland. So in this one, the French have a more rigorous Sarre offensive. So they really try to strike deep into German territory, and because of that, the German player is not receiving reinforcements and might even have some units pulled out of the Polish campaign. In addition, the Poles also start fully mobilized, and the Polish player will receive some French reinforcements because historically the Poles had a defensive alliance with the French. The French actually provided the Poles a lot of their equipment, a lot of their tanks. So you can see here that this would make quite an interesting scenario. And while the first scenario here, the more historical one, will likely almost always end in an Axis victory, I'd imagine if you have two equal players playing it, they just go up in difficulty essentially. So in this final campaign, you've got a really good chance, maybe not a really good chance, but a decent chance that Poland might actually hold out. So, and I think, is there one more? What's this one? Oh, that's right. In this one, this is the final campaign. So in this one, the Soviets actually intervene for Poland against Germany. So the Soviets attack Germany and defend Poland, which is a really interesting scenario. So many interesting ones to choose from. And then in addition, you have sub campaigns essentially where it'll focus on certain parts of the invasion, and that'll focus in on smaller areas of the map. So that goes down here to scenario 10. South is what it's called. But then you have other interesting situations that happened in real life, such as Giordano. A lot of these are going to have really difficult to pronounce names because the Polish language is difficult for an English speaker to pronounce, or any other speaker for that matter. Rozan, a lot of good-sized scenarios too. So, Gdynia. Warsaw. Yeah. So interesting stuff. I'm going to show you some of those, but let's take a look at some of these scenarios. So we'll get started with the big one, and we're going to keep Fog of War off. All right. So this is how it starts. That is pretty loud. Probably turn that off in a little bit. Just want to give you an idea of what the game really looks like. So this is our submap. We've got all our units. Here, let's turn that sound down a little bit. Or let's just turn it off. There. That's good. So we've got our map here. You can see it's quite large. This box right here is just what we can see. So let's go to the hot spots. We've got Gdynia and Danzig. So, and if you actually click on the Polish units, a lot of them are decent, if not like above average. So these guys, these are Marines. They're morale level B. They don't hit super hard, but at this point, neither do many of the German units, because the German units have not gained combat experience yet. So you're fighting against German units that are far weaker than what you're used to in maybe other Panzer Campaign games. Anyway, a bunch of the German units in the free city of Danzig. You've got the Polish post office. That's some irregulars. Got Westerplatte, the famous Battle of Westerplatte, where they held out against overwhelming German odds for, I think, about an entire week. So there's their fort garrison. You can see they've got a normal stats, but their defense is really high. And they've got morale level A. So And then you, this might look a little weird at first, but this is the Schleswig Holstein, which is a World War I era um, dreadnought, mini dreadnought that helped fire on Westerplatte. And this is actually its historical location. It was here when it was firing on Westerplatte. I used to think it would have been like right here, but I don't know enough about that to tell them otherwise. So anyway, you got those. In this scenario, you're going to see the poles are spread out really, really too much, basically. That's why historically the Germans were able to punch through their lines pretty easily, because they did not consolidate on the most defensive ground. Let's go over here. Poznan, the Germans just bypassed that completely at the beginning. Are those forts? No, those are forts. So there we go. Let's see the quality of units. Average. So average morale level. Go down here. Let's see if we can find some of the Polish strong points. Now, if you're looking for good books about this subject, one that I can highly recommend is Case White by Robert Borzit. I think that's how you say his name. Again, another Polish name, so don't know how to pronounce those super well. You've also got a lot of armored trains in this game. You can see their stats are pretty high. Anyway, let's look for those. Oh yeah, so this city right here, this was a fortress city essentially. You can see this would be difficult to take. Look at all this difficult terrain, town and city hexes, including streams, rivers. A lot of these hexes are bunkers, so that is quite a good hex. The Allies are supposed to hold on to that for 18 turns, and then they can fall back. But historically, they actually backed out of this area. That was one of the main problems that the Poles did, was they did not hold on to the defensive areas. They tended to try and retreat, and then the Germans would just eat them up when they retreated. This is another really big hot spot. This is another very urbanized area, and you can see both sides have built up in this area. Lots of irregulars throughout here as well. So this will be hell for any German push. I would not recommend trying to push this if you're the German player. Instead, you should really try to maybe push from over here and push around it. But anyway, some more interesting areas. Biala. Got Krakow, famous city. Here's probably the most famous Polish unit of the campaign, the 10th Motorized Brigade. So this was the only motorized unit that the Poles had. It was a brigade. They wanted more of these, but they didn't have time to build any more before the war broke out. And you can see they have some of their normal TKS tanks, but they also have a lot of Vickers, Mark E, A, and Bs, which are essentially the machine gun versions and the, what is it, like a 44, 45 mil weapon on it. So some of the better tanks that the Poles had, easily comparable to the Panzer IIs that the Germans were mostly using. Panzer Is, it outclassed those because those only had machine guns. And the Germans were using a lot of those at this point too. So anyway, that's that famous unit. It was held over in reserve in Krakow and committed to an area the Germans pushed heavily. You've also got the Slovakians. So these guys, mostly border guards, but they do have some actual infantry units, like No, that's more border guards. I can't remember where their main concentration of forces, but they helped participate in this invasion. And then you got the border. You can see a lot of it's blocked off. I have a suspicion that in the games that involve the Soviet Union, this area is not blocked off. Same with over here. Oh, wow, look at that. All of that is included. Wow. Okay, wow, look at this. Look at that. Now let's take a look at Warsaw. So, well, actually, I'll tease you. We'll go up to the north because there's some famous sites up here. Look at this land. This is like perfect for armored units, motorized units, which the Germans did not have very many of at this point. Here's the famous battle line of Malowa. This is one of the Poles' most defensive lines. They held here for a good amount of time too. Let's see. Yeah, average morale level of C here as well. You've got the Deutschland SS Regiment right there. Got a bunch of other units. You can see here, you've got a mixed Panzer unit. This is what most of the German tank units look like. They're all Panzer 1s and 2s mixed together. And then in real life, you'd have like maybe 9 Panzer 4s and 3 Panzer 3s because they did not have those running yet. Anyway, then we've got Modlin, which was another place the Poles held out for a long time. Oh, you got some more Vickers here. That was one of the last places to fall. And then over here, the famous city of Warsaw. So you can see this would be difficult for the Germans to attack. Look at all that. Look at all that urban. Look at all these urban hexes. Now, historically, I think the 4th Panzer Division actually tried to push into Warsaw, and they had almost like half of their tanks destroyed or like injured. Not injured. A tank can't be injured, but they had about like half of their tanks damaged in that. Maybe not half, but they had a lot of tanks hurt. So this city is no joke to take, and that is probably part of why the Germans just bombarded it. You've also got, and this is going to be an interesting unit to look at, probably one of the best early war tanks of this period. Now, it's a shame there were so few of them. So the Poles had developed a tank called the 7TP. Now, this tank had like a 45 millimeter gun. It also had a decent suspension system, a good turret. The crew wasn't too cramped, and I think it had a decent crew as well. So very, very comparable to like a Panzer III. The armor on it was pretty decent, if I remember right. It pretty much outclassed everything the Germans had except the Panzer III. But they only had like 2 or 3 battalions of them. So, and they did not concentrate them either. They spaced them out. So most of the armored units of the Poles look like these dinky little tankettes. But anyway, that's Warsaw. Here's Lodz, another famous city. Let's see, this is the 3D mode. I don't love this mode, so I usually just turn it off. I'd prefer this. This looks so much cleaner to me. But anyway, that is the first campaign. Let's exit. Or actually, we don't have to exit out. We can just select the next one from here. Let's go ahead and select this. Now more of the map should open up here. Yeah, there we go. There's the Soviet Union. Now the objectives will change a little bit now that we've opened the game up. because now it's going to last a lot longer. But none of the units will have changed where they are. Pretty much the only big change is that now the Soviet Union has been shown. So Soviet units will appear along here once the invasion starts, because they don't accidentally want to activate the Polish units early. You also have, here's Wilno, another famous city. But you also have areas that the Poles can escape. Let me see if I can find any. Or maybe they just, oh no, those areas are only activated once here's, no, those don't count. They only get activated once the Soviets invade, I think, that the Poles can start trying to escape units for victory points. Anyway, let's take a look at the third scenario. Here it is. Yeah, so this is the scenario where the Poles start. Oh, there is no Soviet invasion. Is this going to be any different? Let's take a look at this map. I don't think the setup will be any different. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, the setup looks the same. But again, there's no Soviet invasion in this. So, pretty big difference. Now let's go ahead and check out the next one. All right, now we've got the Polish army starting out fully mobilized, and you're about to see this map right here absolutely fill up. All right, let's see how much time we've done as well. 22 minutes, not too bad. Get ready. Okay, it didn't really fill up that much more. There. But the Polish army is mobilized now. You can see there are a lot more units just scattered about to move to one place or another. Yeah, so you got a lot more to work with as the Poles in this scenario. All right, now let's, oh, I think my night mode just turned on. I don't want that. Here. Let's see. Pardon me. Here. All right, I just turned it off. There we go. That's better. So anyway, you can see the Poles now have a lot more units to work with. All over the place. Suddenly just there they have more of an advantage. Not an advantage over the Germans yet, I would say, but okay. E, so campaign E. This is when the Polish player will receive some French reinforcements. I don't know if they get any of those off the bat. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. All right, let's check the order of battle. Oh. Oh, they're all reinforcements. Okay. All right. Wish I could see where the French were. Anyway, let's take a look at the last campaign, F. And this is the one where the Soviets join the Poles. So we're going to see the Soviet units along this edge. Are they going to be in frozen mode? No, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, okay. Well, they're all mobilized, and the Soviets will join them. So this is going to be quite an interesting campaign. I'm really looking forward to it. I know I've mentioned before, or maybe not, because I don't think I've released that video yet. But the YouTuber James, he also does Panzer Campaigns games. Him and I are going to be playing a playthrough of this potentially. Maybe I'll record some of it, but let's take a look at some of these other battles. Nice. Here's the Battle of Burza. So the Poles are counterattacking the Germans. So lots of Poles. Mostly infantry. Anyway, interesting. We've got a couple others. Just click on random ones. Let's click on some with Soviets too. Here's another one. Looks like the Germans are trying to kick the Poles out of this area. This is a nice and small one. I bet that the Germans have a bunch of reinforcements. Yeah, looks like they will. Let's check out another one. We'll go to, yep, Red Army. There's hardly any units in this one. Got some Red Army forces here. Yeah, look at that. What's going on here? There's supposed to be enemy unit schedule. Oh, yeah, there they are. Interesting seeing the Soviets on the Axis side, huh? Not common at all. Not common at all. Let's take a look. What's the last scenario look like? Here it is. There it is. The good old city of Koch. Pardon my Polish. Adamau as well. Yeah, some interesting scenarios. Let's take a look at the Warsaw one. There's always something interesting about super urbanized battles. Here it is. Look, Germans got to attack a Polish defense in Warsaw. Oh, they got some of those 7 TPs. Only 6 of them. Maybe those. Oh, here's some more. No, those are Vickers. Only 6 of those. Guess maybe those were pumped straight out of the factory here. So flamethrowers, Polish flamethrowers. I didn't know they used flamethrowers. Interesting. Do the Germans have flamethrowers? Yeah, look at the stats on these Panzer units. They're really bad. They're fast though, and if you don't have heart attack, then there's, I mean, even one of these can do big damage to you. Anyway, any other interesting battles we want to take a look at? Here's another one. Oh yeah, now here's the big boy scenario. Oh, and now it's surrounded. Oh, it's the last stand of Warsaw. That's sad. Now look at that. Half of these hexes are rebel now. I wonder what the scenario description is of this. This is a lot like the Dunkirk one, except there's nowhere for them to go. Unfortunate for the Poles. They've even got one of their armored trains here. It's always sad, these types of scenarios where just like annihilate the other side. That's your goal. Yeah, look at that. Ouch. Ouch. The Germans didn't really even use their 88s as ground weapons yet. They still used them as flak. At this point, I mean, you don't really see any of them being used in this sort of situation. But anyway, that is everything. So I hope you all enjoyed the episode. This is quite some fun news. I'm really looking forward to digging into this because of all the history of World War II that I know, I probably know the most about the invasion of Poland, which is really weird, I know, but it's true, and I have enjoyed learning about it quite a lot. So, everyone, thank you for watching. If you like this episode and you want to see me play more of Poland 39, definitely subscribe and let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to pumping more of this content out for you. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one.